Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of FatBoi Cooking with me, your host, Bailey. On today's episode, I'm going to be teaching how to cook a ribeye using the reverse sear method. I prefer this method because it makes your ribeye come out the way that you want it. But before we start, make sure you drop that little happy dance and then let's get cooking. Alright, step one, we're going to first start by seasoning the ribeye on both sides heavily with salt and pepper. Then it's going to get left out at room temperature for 30 minutes. This will let the salt penetrate deeply into the meat. Then move it onto a baking sheet lined with a wire rack and bake at 250 degrees for an hour or until the internal temperature reaches 115 degrees. While that cooks, let's get started on the red wine sauce. First, start by peeling your shallots. Honestly, this is the worst part of the process. I don't know why I hate it so much, but I do. Start by cutting thin slices down the shallot. Yeah! Then come back and finely chop it. Here's a close-up look for your viewing pleasure. Start by melting 5 tablespoons of butter on low heat. Add in the shallot and cook until it's soft and translucent. It should take about 7 to 8 minutes. Add in 1 1/4 cup of red wine, 3 cups of beef broth. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and then a few turns of fresh black pepper. Then add 6 thyme sprigs to the mix. Bring it to a boil on a medium heat and let it reduce by half. Once reduced, mix 3 tablespoons of softened butter with 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. Add this in as it will help the sauce thicken up. Let it reduce for another 5 to 6 minutes. It should thicken up by then. When the ribeyes come out of the oven, they're going to look all gross and gray, but don't worry, we're going to fix this right now. And that fix is a cast iron pan. Get that thing ripping hot and add a few tablespoons of oil. Once the oil is hot, it's time to start searing the steak. Lay it into the pan away from you. Lay it in the pan away from you. This will help avoid any oil splashing back towards your body. Let the steak sit there for 2 minutes. Do not touch it, just let it hang out. If you mess with it too soon, you're not going to get the sear that you want. After about 2 minutes, it's time to flip the thing. If you don't like the way the crust looks, don't worry, you can just leave it on a little longer to get it all nice and crunchy. It's completely up to you. But for me, it's perfect. After about a minute, add 2 knobs of butter. Throw in a few sprigs of parsley. And then baste with butter for an additional minute. After that minute is up, it's time to remove from the pan and let it rest. Add a few more knobs of butter on top and cover with aluminum foil. And we're going to let it rest for about 10 minutes. After the 10-minute rest period, it's time to slice. Start by cutting the bone off the ribeye, then slice into 1/2-inch pieces. Now it's time to plate. I'm going to be plating it on a cutting board because it gives you that rustic steakhouse vibe, and I just like the way it looks. And all I'm doing here is just fanning each piece of meat nicely across the entire length of the cutting board. Across the top, we'll add some of our red wine sauce. And I'm going to put some mushrooms that I sauteed on top as well, with a little bit of thyme to garnish it. So there you have it, a sexy looking ribeye cooked using the reverse sear method. Now if you don't mind me, I'm going to go eat this thing.